in this workshop. Dr. Reddy's Foundation, in collaboration with Skill Council for Persons with Disability, has planned a series of workshops till March to help increase the employment opportunities for persons with disabilities. This workshop makes more sense in the present situation, as the information that we are going to discuss today should help employers to clarify certain things related to safety, reasonable accommodations, etc. And employees who are planning to hire persons with disabilities for the first time, this workshop should give more clarity to them on what kind of roles to be offered disability-wise. Thanks to our employers who have taken time out of their busy schedules and agreed to share their experiences working with persons with disability. So today's agenda is I will talk about Dr. Reddy's Foundation, what we do. One second. And we have Mr. Ravindra Singh Ji, Chief Executive Officer, Skill Council for Person Disability. He will give keynote address. And we have Dr. Ashok Kumar. He is my colleague. He's technical specialist in Dr. Reddy's Foundation. He'll be talking about general etiquettes and terminologies, need for hiring person with disability and regional accommodation, role of employees and employers. And we also have Dr. Niharika Nigam, Head Standards and Quality Assurance from Skill Council for Persons with Disability. She will be talking about roles and initiatives of SAPWD in the current situation and need to hire persons with disabilities. And she will also talk about government benefits. We have Mr. Ashish Kumar Chaudhary, his manager corporate matters from Skill Council for Persons with Disability. He will be talking about very important aspect, National Apprenticeship Promotion Scheme. And after that, we have employers who will be sharing their experience working with persons with disabilities. So after that, we will have question and answer session. Before that, during the presentations, all participants, if you have any questions, clarifications needed on any particular topic, you can write down in the chat box. We will address all the questions at the end of the session. So I'll move on to the presentation about Dr. Reddy's Foundation for a very quick presentation. And then my colleague Ashok will talk about the other things. Yes. So Dr. Reddy's Foundation, founded in its 25th year. We have Dr. Reddy's Foundation has a vision to enable sustainable social impact at scale. Our mission is to empower communities through improved education, health, livelihood, and climate action outcomes. So we work in different areas. Under livelihoods, we work with persons with disabilities. And our strategy is to develop and test innovative solutions to address adaptive social problems and support scaling up of impact by leveraging the power of partnerships. So we have DRF impacted more than 8 million lives. And we have, as I mentioned, education, and in livelihoods, we have youth and persons with disabilities program. And we have impacted more than 1 lakh rural households. So coming to PWD program, Persons with Disabilities program, we have 60-day and 90-day programs for persons with different disabilities. At the moment, we are working with catering to people with 11 different disabilities and train them in core employability skills. And we cater to 18 to 35 years of age group youth in the program. And we have built a strategy for 5 years to aim at catering to 15 disabilities by 2025 through different formats, different programs, different models working with colleges, working with training centers through digital mode, and also different models like self-employment option, and giving 30%, making sure that 30% beneficiaries are women. And these are few employers where we have placed our trained candidates, and we have catered to different sectors through our program. And these are the services which we offer to employers, and Ashok will talk about these services in detail in his presentation. So that is it from my end. I'm available at lakshmi@drreddy'sfoundation.org. Any email can be sent to this, and my number is this. So over to Ashok. Thank you. Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. So over to Ravindra Singh ji.
Thank you, Shri Lakshmi ji. So one of the advantages after speaking after Shri Lakshmi is that she explains the entire PWD thing so well. It's very difficult to add more to what she is doing. And the commitment that Dr. Reddy's Foundation is bringing to this entire cause is really, really heartening. It was really a pleasure to partner somebody so oriented, so focused, so dedicated. And my compliments to Shri Lakshmi ji for having such a wonderful team, and wish you, your team, all participants today a very, very happy new year. I hope that this year will bring new light and new opportunities and avenues for everybody. And it will be a year that will see us overcoming the challenges that we faced over the last 2 years. It's been tremendously, difficult for whichever segment of society that you can talk to, especially when we talk about our PWD diaspora. It's become even more challenging. So I sincerely hope 2022 is a turning point, and here onwards we'll actually see things moving forward in a very, very positive manner, both from the corporate side, from the government side, and general society by large. Disability, as I have often mentioned, and it's understood, is primarily an existence of a barrier. And this pandemic actually gave the world an opportunity to understand disability from a very close angle. When 2 years back in the month of March, the whole world became disabled when everybody was locked out. You can't move out, you can't do anything, your businesses kind of come to a close, and suddenly people develop new technologies, new methods, new processes to see how they're going to address this challenge that has been thrown at them. And new ability avenues started emerging. And the technology that we're using today is one of those avenues that has come forward. And it was not that it was not there earlier, but it started getting used more frequently and was widely accepted by most of the people. Going forward, I hope that this year we are able to convince larger number of industries to hire wider diaspora of PWD people. Industries predominantly want to hire mostly from the locomotor and speech and hearing impairment, some from visual impairment. I sincerely hope that the work on the intellectual disability part also gets focused on. And we at the council are very, very committed. As a council, what we do, the details of activities will be shared by Niharika, and the apprenticeship programs will be taken forward by Ashish. So with that, I wish Dr. Reddy's Foundation all the best for this year, and wish all the participants best of luck for the year going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ravindra. Yeah, now we'll move on to Ashok. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Again, a great atmosphere to see everyone amidst of a difficult situation and busy schedule. We have joined here today in good numbers, so it gives a very positive vibes for this workshop and going forward in this year. So I will be talking basically about some basic things that we need to understand both as a person and as an employer. Can you share the screen, Kapil?
Kapil, can you share the screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So just to set the context, it was ideally stated by Mr. Singh that everyone were challenged or posed to some challenge during the pandemic, and so disability is one such condition that we never know when it comes, to whom it comes. So we are in that. It's just a condition. So that is what I'm going to stress on. Thanks, Kapil. Now the screen is shared. So today we are here to understand about how to employ persons with disability, and also we need to understand what is that we need to do something. Is it something special or different that we need to do even in this difficult situation? And how do we ensure that we create a inclusive workforce? So when this pandemic struck, nobody knew what is the extent of it. We're all facing the brunt of it. When everyone thought that everything is out, so we're out of the woods. Now again, we are confronted with another situation, kind of difficult situation in this year. I hope this comes to normal at the earliest. So we have some hard statistics to understand the status of the general economy and also people with disability. Change the slide, Kapil. Next slide. So statistics, if you see the first thing, if you notice, the data of people with disability is in itself is a challenge. So World Bank states 40 to 80 million people with disability are there in India, but as per the statistics of the population census, it's only 26.8 million. So there is a huge discrepancy there, and how this becomes a challenge, I'll just explain in a while. And if you further probe into the statistics, economically also you find huge job loss in the world around 200 million. And why this 200 million is important is, even though World Bank says about 10% of people are there with disability, when you compare these economic losses or job losses, then the percentage of number will come much higher. Why? Because of the last thing which I've stated. It's because during pandemic or emergency situation, people with disability are more than four times more vulnerable and susceptible due to various discriminations or the lack of opportunities that they get in the society. And as a result, these economic losses or the lack of educational participation, it increases in tremendous numbers. Let's move on to the next slide. So if you come a bit more deeper and analyze the major causes or the major issues identified, it comes down to the perennial issues. You talk about awareness and accessibility. So these are very, very common issues which were there even before pandemic. So when the people with disability, they face the brunt when pandemic struck. Even for instance, to get the information about pandemic, it was not accessible. People with speech and hearing struggled to get the information. People with severe disabilities who could not move around from one place to another, where they needed physical assistance, they struggled. So this is due to that lack of information and access. And the other thing which majorly came across was the scarcity in data. So data, we don't know how many people even today actually got affected due to this pandemic, how many people lost their jobs, because there are small surveys being conducted. I have given one example in this slide of the survey conducted by Public Health Foundation of India. and also the CBM. But then the survey, the source or sample size is very small. It's not big enough to decide and frame policies. So that is where the problem lies. Even if you want to formulate a policy, it's very difficult to formulate policies based on the lack of data which is there with us. If you look at the other issues, the nature of jobs, if you see, people with disability, even today's statistics reveal more than 2/3 of them are involved in the non-formal sector. It may be very unorganized sector. So this is the huge hit which is suffered during the pandemic. So as a result, people with disability, the job loss among people with disability becomes much higher. And if you look at the social norms which are there at present, the SMS rule that we say, social distancing, the masking, and also the sanitizing. So it is good for our safety and health, everyone agrees. But then there are some challenges which comes along the way to people with disability. For instance, masking is good for everyone, but how do you read the lips if you are a person with speech and hearing? How do you pick up the communication? That's their only source, and that has been taken away. We need transparent masses which are not available to the required number. So they face a lot of communication challenges. The social distancing, it is good to protect from the pandemic, but then if people with vision impairment or people with physical disability, they need physical assistance sometimes, so they get deprived of that. So these are very, very common challenges which are faced by people with disability. And also, if you see the nature of job, as I spoke, it is very difficult in this situation to get them jobs. The hospitality sector is a huge, facing a lot of challenges. So people with disability were employed in that sector. Now there is a huge deficit which is happening in that line. So this is where as employers, we need to think positively and proactively towards how do we ensure, even in this toughest situation, to make sure that we include them also in the overall societal development. Now, when you say if everything is a challenge, no, there are bright spots, as we see in the next slide. Change the slide. So the bright spots, if you see these 4 pointers, the work from home, flexi work policies, or you can take digital transformation or use of digital technology, even contactless operations. So these are all things which have become very, very, very common words in a daily routine today. But then in the lives of people with disability, this was part much earlier, and we have been pushing and we have been urging towards these things for a long time. But fortunately, it took us one huge pandemic to bring about all these things which are more favorable to people with disability. I'll tell you why. The work from home opportunity is helpful to people with disability, as there are chances that even people with severe disability, they could get employed with whatever technology that is available or whatever technology that is required for those people, which was not possible when there was no work from home opportunities. Everyone feels comfortable working from home these days, but then it is more, if this is our comfort, it's a necessity sometimes for people with some kind of disability. And if you take this flexi work policies, again, this is one of the reasonable accommodation. I'll tell you about what is reasonable accommodation in the next slide. So flexi work policies, some people with disabilities may not be able to sit in a very the same posture for a long time. For them, this is a blessing. So they can work with flexi working hours. And digital technology, we have been using technology more than ever before. So that has come as a boom again for people with disability. So we have to think of various adaptations which are necessary in terms of accommodating various disabilities, the physical disability, speech and hearing, even intellectual disability for that matter, and also the vision impaired. So but one thing for sure is the technology solutions are available today. And due to this, the adverse situation, we are also looking into new technologies. So this will only result in more favorable situation to people with disability. So when we talk about reasonable accommodation, next slide. So reasonable accommodation is all the things which I talked about in the previous slide. Even though these are bright spots for us now, these were typical reasonable accommodation for people with disability in the days before pandemic as well. So reasonable accommodation is nothing but those are accommodations or adjustments that we make in workplace or enable in workplace to ensure that people with disability, they work with more productivity and also they get the desired work environment. So if that does not happen, it is again difficult for the employer to say that he is working, and it is also difficult for the person with for people with disability also to work in a with his own skills or abilities to prove himself with his skills. So that is where reasonable accommodation plays a very, very important role. So where we need to understand the nature of disability of a person and bring in certain adaptations which are required in terms of technology, in terms of physical environment, in terms of even the awareness, the part of it. The peer group are aware, and the the co-workers are aware about disability. So that is reasonable accommodation for that. For instance, if you see in the example, there's something called buddy system. So buddy system is useful for everyone, but for people with disability, it's even more important because he will be understanding the work needs with the help of the buddy system, right? So these reasonable accommodation are being practiced in most of the bigger companies. As I have a couple of case studies to narrate. Change the slide, Kapil. So the first company is of Accenture. So Accenture is one of the leading company which is thriving towards achieving true diversity and inclusion hiring. I've taken only 2 examples because of the shortage of time. It's not that only these 2 companies are doing, but then there are a lot of companies which are today is a day where people are becoming proactive towards disability also. And it's due to a large effort that has taken place in the last 15 years. So Accenture, if you see, to my experience, I've seen them in India, at least working towards disability for the last 12 to 13 years. So after that, they have put in this practice. They have disability cell to take requests, and also access the art of the center, which determines what technology is needed and how it should be adapted. So they have developed something called Vani, which is a text-to-speech and speech-to-text software, which takes care of the 2 of the most difficult kind of disability, which if you say difficult, which is the people with vision impairment and speech and hearing to work. And of course, the physical infrastructure will also be there to accommodate people with physical disability. If you look at next slide, if you look at Flipkart as an employer, they are a retail hiring retail chain, as you all know. So their needs are different, their job roles are different, and so their accommodations will also be different. So they have looked at that, and they thrive more in hiring speech and people with hearing impairment. So they have focused a lot during this pandemic to work on the sensitization part, because information is very important for such people to know what is happening around them. So they have focused a lot on sign language training. They have also given various other benefits which are there, pick up and drop and other facilities. So these are proactive measures that they have enabled in order to ensure people with disability are working in a very conducive environment. And this is what we require at this stage, where employers think about the needs of people with disability, because there's something called, we have to map. There's something, the concept called job mapping. It is important to everyone. So do people with disability. So if we are able to identify the right person and understand their needs as per their disability, it is definitely possible to hire them and take maximum productivity in an inclusive workforce. So with that is what I wanted to convey through these case studies. So if we move on, Finally, I want to explain about why do you want to hire? What is that you will gain, right? So social and business benefits briefly, it's all people, right? So company needs manpower, company needs business, and you have the manpower and you have the business and people with disability also. What are the additional benefits? These are people who are a very bigger talent pool because they have not been looked upon till now. So you have a large pool to hire. You have you also have very diverse pool. So they come with their own solutions to their problems because they have been confronting problems in various levels, education, participation. So various levels, they have been confronting various challenges. So that would be an advantage for you to solve problems with various different solutions. And it's also a group which is one of the most marginalized in the society. So you will also be socially responsible. Why? If you hire them, and also their income increases, the family income in turn increases, and it contributes to the larger social growth, societal growth, and also the social development takes place. And it's also the retention, and the major factor to solve is the retention and the attrition issue that most of the employers are facing. So because of the deprived opportunities, the employee with a disability will also have more than he would have more to offer to the employer because he has got that opportunity. So naturally that loyalty and retention aspect will be high in terms of diversity hiring, especially with people with a disability. So finally, I would end with the services as explained earlier. Next slide. So the services that we offer, so we don't just conduct workshops like this. Excuse me. We also conduct workshops individually with companies to understand their needs, their requirements, and to customize their job roles. We conduct job mapping, so to make them understand about what are the roles that they can hire people with disability. We also conduct sign language training, wherein we train people in sign language, and we also help people to hire people with speech and hearing and support them in conducting interviews or conducting inductions through our sign language interpreters present all over the country. And the supply side is also taken care of because we have training centers across India. So we provide candidates, we run batches continuously, and we also follow up the candidates even after joining. So that's also a problem of retention. So these are our services. And the last slide, you can get in touch with us. My contact number is there, and also the email ID is there. Feel free to get in touch. And this is just a small description of today to help you start thinking about disability. It's not that you after this session you will understand everything about disability, but then to take you through the whole process of hiring, we are with you. We will support you through all the processes and help you to hire greater number of people with disability to create a larger and greater inclusive society in the order today. So with this, I would like to conclude my submission, and I would come back with the presenters, the employers, the limelight of today's sharing. So I'll be having 3 employees who will be sharing their best practices apart from the case studies I show. So I would come back and meet those employees and for the experience sharing session. Thank you very much.
Yes, thanks, Ashok. And now I request Dr. Niharika to share about SCPWD activities. Over to Dr. Niharika. Kapil, can you share the presentation?
Hello, ma'am. Is it visible?
Yes, Kapil.
Good evening.
Hello.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible now.
All right. All right. So before I start with the presentation, let me very briefly talk about
Your voice is gone again.
October 2, and the objective was to skill train youth with disability in industry relevant job roles. So how do we do that? We are various sector skill councils, which are there around 37 or 38, specialized in specific domains. As SCPWD, we adopt the job roles from the various domains, sector skill councils. We customize these job roles for the people with disability, of especially the physical and sensory disability, as suggested by CEO SCPWD meeting. We are also working very closely for the persons with intellectual disability. We equip the training centers in order to conduct the disability specific training by equipping their
Dr. Niharika, your voice is not audible.
my internet is
Yes,
very
now.
unstable, I feel. So I'm getting disconnected. Can you bear with me?
Please go.
So yes, so we are also providing guidelines to the various training centers to update their equipments, their infrastructure according to the disability specific guidelines. We conduct training through the training centers, which are available pan-India, have their presence pan-India. We do the assessment and certification as per the standard guidelines.
I think it's again.
Yes,
got
it is
disconnected.
becoming a constant issue. Okay, so likewise, we are into skill training, advocacy of doing a lot of workshops for the employers. I mean, this is one of the examples in which we connected with Dr. Reddy's Foundation. Shrishmi, whether I can request you to please have Ashish session first. The stability of my connection by then, and then I can take my session.
Sure. We can do that.
Yes, please.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
please, because it's causing a lot of inconvenience. Let me just check and come back.
Sure. Okay. So
Thank you.
let's, yeah, thanks. So let's move on to Mr. Ashish's presentation on apprenticeship scheme. Kapil, in the same presentation, you have this apprenticeship scheme. So maybe you can start with that slide.
Is it visible now? The presentation.
Yes.
It is visual.
It is.
Kapil, the slide start from 23, I think, or 22nd. Can you go to please slide number 23? Yes.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
namaskar to everyone. I am going to discuss and present the key component of the apprenticeship. and the NAPS, that is National Apprenticeship Promotion Scheme. Can you go to the next slide, please? So basically, apprenticeship training is a course of training in an industry or establishment. So whenever I talk about the establishment, it is the industry. Under a contract of apprenticeship, which consists of the two components, that is the basic training and on the job training or the training at the employer location. So basically, the basic training is consists of the theoretical and the lab training in the classroom. It takes place before the on-the-job training, but as per the new revision in the guidelines, the OJT as well as the basic training can be started simultaneously also. It is mandatory for fresher to go to the basic training. It can be exempted for the few qualifications like ITI pass out candidate, diploma holder, or BTech candidates. The basic training generally consists of 25% or to 20% of the total duration of the any apprenticeship program. And there are other processes. In the case of on the job training, it is the main or key component of the apprenticeship program, which consists of basically 75 to 80% major chunk of the total apprenticeship duration. It generally happens at the establishment location or the industry premises, and it is guided by the experienced trainer of the industries. The establishment falling under apprenticeship mandate. So all the establishment having workforce, including regular and contractual employees, consist of 30 or more employees, is mandated to engage 2.5% to the 50%. The maximum limit is 15% to engage the apprenticeship. If the establishment is having 4 to 29 total strength of the employee, then it is optional to them to engage apprenticeship. And if the strength is 0 to 3, I mean, of course, up to 3, then they are not eligible to engage the apprenticeship. Next slide, please. So this slide generally depicts the landscape of the apprenticeship in the India. So it is the apprenticeship training landscape is governed under the Apprenticeship Act 1961 and the Apprenticeship Rule 1992. It was till 2014. It was administered by the apprenticeship by the Ministry of Labor and Employment, and it was came under the gambit of the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship in 2015. Central Apprenticeship Council, CAC, is the apex statutory body to advise and assist the central government in the implementation of the apprenticeship program. There are two. It was governed by the central government as well as the state government. So under central government, it is the central PSU, central government department, and the private organization which are operating in 4 or more than 4 states. And for the state government, again, the state government, state department, and the private establishment which is operating within the 3 states. And under the central government, there is the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Skill Development. Under the Ministry of Skill Development, there is a NSDC or the SSC, which looks after the implementation of the apprenticeship in the India. Can you go to the next slide, please? So what was the main reason of the implementation of the apprenticeship was that the apprenticeship to utilize the facilities, infrastructure, and the other utilities available in the industries for the imparting hands-on experience of the training and actual workplace environment to the candidate. And by doing so, it provides the skilled and employable manpower to the industries. So that was the main reason to initiate this apprenticeship program. The key component is like the eligibility is the candidate should be minimum 14 years of the age, and it should be 18 years age in the case of hazardous industries. So when we say that hazardous industries, it is not the industries, but yes, it is the process which is hazardous carried out the industry like the chemical industry, petroleum, iron, steel, mining, etc. Contract is a legal agreement between the establishment and the apprentice that they are going into the apprenticeship program. there are regulations which is governed to regulate the program. There are apprenticeship advisor who look after the contract claims and other regulations. A stipend is it is minimum 5,000 to the 9,000 rupees based on the education of the candidate, but it can be up to the organization to give the more amount on the 5,000 or 9,000 rupees. There is a penalty clause if the establishment which falls under the Apprenticeship Act and they are not engaging the apprenticeship candidate, then there is a penalty clause for them. And for training period, it consists of the BTP, basic training, and the OJT. Next slide, please. So apprenticeship is kind of bridging the demand and supply gaps between the industries. There are many times that industry say that the current education system of our country is not employable. So it gives the opportunity to the candidate with the support of government to engage apprenticeship in their organization, train them as per the need of the organization, and make them available for their future workforce. So, so we can say that it is the bridging the demand and supply gaps for the industry. Next slide, please. So apprenticeship in India has evolved continuously over the years to make it more acceptable among the industries, make it more convenient for the industries, and also to generate the aspiration in the youth of India to go for the apprenticeship program. In 1961, the Apprenticeship Act started. In 1973, Act amended. 1986, again it was 10+2 vocational stream came into a system. 1992, apprenticeship rules, kind of SOP to implement the Apprenticeship Act came into the force. 2014, it was amended. 2016, the National Apprenticeship Promotion Scheme was launched. Then there was reforms in 2019, and there was again reforms in the 2021 to make it convenient. Next slide, please. So apprenticeship is a kind of program which gives the complete discretion to the organization or the industry to design the program as per their need. So government has not kept any constraint kind of criteria that do not allow company to change the program. It is completely up to the flexibility of the organization. So there is a band of hiring apprenticeship between 2.5% to the 15% of its total workforce. There is a flexibility in the duration of the program. So it can be anywhere between 6 to 36 months. And also the basic training as well as the OJT can be started simultaneously. They can design the program as per the need of the organization. There are already 500 trades inclusive of the optional trade, and the designated trade are available. But if the organization is having any demand-based job role, then the curriculum can be created with support of the industry along with the sector skill council. The earlier it was the apprenticeship was mainly for the manufacturing sector. Now the new service sector also came under the apprenticeship. There is a flexibility of choosing candidate from 5th standard to the ITI diploma holder or short training candidate who are certified under this program. The complete system is completely automated on the apprenticeship portal. The link is there. It is start from the organization registration to the certification of the candidate, and it has moved from the regulation to the self-regulation. So when I say that self-regulation, the SSC CEO in case of the Mr. Ravinder Singh who was just speaking is the joint apprenticeship advisor. So all the apprenticeship which is happening and will be going for the PWD candidates, the industry can connect and can revise many things as per the need of the industry. So it has given the flexibility to the industry to regularize it as per the demand of the industry. Next slide, please. So there are two kinds of trade where apprenticeship can be implemented. One is designated trade and one is optional trade. So designated trades are those which have been notified by the government as a designated trade. These are mostly engineering based and appropriate for the manufacturing sector. Courses under designated trades are designed by the Central Staff Training and Research Institutes, approved by the NCVT. Of course, there is a NAPS option available, that is the financial support is available that organization can avail it. And the certificate is given by the National Apprenticeship Certificate is given under the designated trade. Optional trade, the concept of optional trade was introduced to give more flexibility to the establishment to create courses as per their requirements in the manufacturing sector, service sector, or any other sector. The trades are mostly self-created with the support of Sector Skill Council. It can be technical or non-technical job roles. And it is implemented by NSDC and the Sector Skill Council. Of course, there is a NAPS benefit, and the certification is given with the SSC, and the industry certification is given for the optional trade. Next slide, please. So there is a minimum stipend has been fixed as per the education qualification for the apprenticeship. So till 9th pass candidate, it is up to 5,000 rupees. It is not up to minimum 5,000 rupees. For 10th pass, it is 6,000 rupees. And for 12th pass, it is 7,000 rupees. And that for graduate apprenticeship, it is up to the 9,000 rupees. This is the minimum prescribed amount. Organizations are free to give more stipend based on their kind of job role or the educations, but the reimbursement will be done as per the guidelines that I will explain in the upcoming slide. Next slide, please. So of course, with this act, of course, there are some legalities for engaging apprenticeship. So apprenticeship are considered as a trainee and not to be considered as a worker. For designated as well as the optional trade. So there the provision of any law with respect to labor shall not apply for those apprentices. Although employers have the discretion to the pay PF to the apprentices, and apprenticeship engaged under the Apprenticeship Act are not counted for the coverage of under the ESIC Act. But to protect the employee, companies are advised to take the group insurance. Next slide, please. So this is the life cycle of the for the optional trade. There is establishment of the registration of the establishment or organization on the apprenticeship portal. Then there is a adoption of course. If the courses are not available, then organization can connect with us in the case of PWD courses. Then there is a posting of the opportunity on the apprenticeship portal. Then you may search the candidate as per your requirement. If the candidates you do not find, then you can connect with the SCPWD. Will provide you the candidate for the PWD. Then there is a sign and upload of contract between organization and the candidate. Conduct of basic training and the OJT. Then there is assessment and certification program. All these can be done on the through the apprenticeship portal only. And after the assessment and certification, you can engage the candidate on your permanent role. If the organization if the organization do not have the bandwidth to do all these processes, then there is a third-party aggregator who came into action and who handles all these processes on your behalf. There is already list of TPA available on the apprenticeship portal. When you generate any contact, you have to choose that are you going to take the support of any TPA. If you can choose, then the TPA will take the care of all those above process. Next slide, please. So a national apprenticeship promotion scheme. So it was launched on 19 August 2016. It is kind of basically the financial benefit of financial support by the government to the industries to engage more and more apprenticeship. For the BT, total is 7,500 amount can be paid for the 3 months. It is basically 15 rupees per hour for maximum 500 hours of the basic training. And for the stipend, 25% up to minimum maximum 1,500 rupees can be paid per month for per apprenticeship. Next slide, please. So there are benefits. Of course, there are other benefits which are already been explained by Ashokji in the previous slide. And there is similar kind of benefits for engaging apprenticeship also. 2-3 extra additional benefits is like that. It is the cost effectiveness because the government is supporting through the financial support. Then the curriculum can be designed as per your requirement or as per the requirement of the industry. And there are various SSC who are there to support you to develop the curriculum. Then there's a flexibility training options. You can start the OJT or basic training simultaneously. Then there is a bouquet of the available of the skilled workforce that you can choose from the certified apprenticeship. There is a reduced turnover cost for this program. Of course, it increases the productivity and retention rate because if a candidate is working in any organization for let's say 2 years, and if you join your organization as a permanent employee, then there is a very little chance of leaving the job in that respective company. So it definitely increases the retention. There is a financial benefits from the government, which has been explained in the previous slide. And there is a statutory and regulatory requirement which is reduces for the organization to engage the apprenticeship. Next slide, please. So this is how you can engage the PWD candidate as an apprenticeship. So for this, you have to find the need of PWD as an apprenticeship in your organization. You can register yourself and find the courses, which is already there are 10 courses for the PWD candidate on the apprenticeship portal. If you can choose from those courses, it is you can choose. Otherwise, you can let us and we can create courses with support of you, and that courses will be put up on the apprenticeship portal. Then you can select that course and initiate the apprenticeship program for the PWD candidates. And the key things are that whenever we approach industries, they say that they are engaging PWD. But at the time of apprenticeship, you do not select the PWD sector. Then those candidates cannot be counted as a PWD candidate, and the certificate will be given of that respective sector where you are choosing the candidates. If you choose the PWD sector, you will get all the courses, and the certification will be that respective sector as well as the PWD sector also. So I'll request all the organization at the time of choosing courses, they must see this point. You may connect with us anytime. I will assist you in doing so. Next slide, please. Yeah. So this is what from my side for the apprenticeship. If any question is there, then that can be taken at the end of the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashish. Dr. Niharika, if you are available, ready,
Yes.
then we can. Yes.
Yes,
okay.
yes, we can go on to the first slide. I'm so sorry. Thank you for bearing with us. And Ashish, thank you for being a savior.
Thank you.
Please allow me to switch off my video. I think it was because of that. So I think I've briefly talked about Skill Council for Persons with Disability, and it is an initiative towards accepting diversity and mainstreaming persons with disability through skill training to enable them to earn a livelihood and lead a life of dignity and contribute to the growing economy of the country. And how we do this? We do this by, we can go on to the next slide. We do this by adopting the industry relevant job roles which are created by the various domain sector skill councils. We equip, we guide the training centers and panel them and guide them on the infrastructural requirements, the lab requirements, the assistive tool and technology, which is required for the specific disability. We have so far created 6 expository which cater to almost 14 disability as of now, the benchmark disability, which I'm going to touch upon in the upcoming slides. apart from that, we work on customizing the curriculum, the content, the qualification, and we create accessible e-content for the persons with disability so that they can learn in an instructor-led environment as well as at their own self-paced convenience. The e-content which we create is customized in terms of that there is a ISL window which is already there in the content. There is frozen captioning and as well as the voiceover support for the people who would like to hear. And apart from that, we conduct training through the empanel training partners and assessment through online mode, physical mode, both, and certification on standardized norms. Advocacy is another very important area where we work on, and this workshop is again an example where we are connecting with DRF for the last 2 to 3 years. Since 2018, I think we started this journey, and we have conducted for more than 30 workshops in physical and virtual mode. I mean, during the pandemic, we conducted 10 virtual workshops and 3 disability specific workshops. So in this virtual session, a lot has already been talked about by my colleague for the apprenticeship and Ashok for the various, the accommodations, the requirement for the advocacy and all that. So we'll be talking about highlighting the need to hire persons with disability, the legal as well as the social perspective, where we will be showing you the legal aspect of it through the RPWD Act 2016 and the significant role of you as employers and the industry, some of the tangible benefits, the government benefits which are being offered to the employers, and NAPS Ashish has already talked about. So we can go on to the next slide. So if we come to the legal perspective, there is Rights for Persons with Disability Act. I don't know, some of you must be aware that in 2000, there was earlier a PWD Act 1995, and this RPWD Act, which was launched in 2016, replaces the erstwhile PWD Act, which was for equal opportunities, protection of rights, and full participation. And in the PWD Act 1995, there were 7 disabilities which were enlisted. In the Act 2016 Act, there are 21 types of disabilities which are benchmark disability. Majorly, there are 5 categories, and they are split into the 21 disabilities. And this act applies to both the government as well as private establishments. And all the establishments are supposed to provide facilities and benefits, an accessible environment to the persons with disability. We can go on to the next slide. So what are the requirements which you have to follow as an employer? The Act mandates the requirement of an equal opportunity policy. The equal opportunity policy, which must also be registered with the state commissioner. And what is this policy all about? This equal employment opportunity consists of ensuring that all the employees are given equal access to training, promotion, appointment, or any other employment related issue without regard to any factor which is not related to their competency and ability to perform their duties. So in terms of that, there shouldn't be any discrimination. All the establishments which have more than 20 employees should appoint a liaison officer, and establishments are also required to identify job vacancies which would be appropriate for the person with disability. In case of establishments which are receiving incentives from the government, a minimum of 5% of job vacancies must be compulsorily reserved for the persons with disability. And this act also says that you must ensure the prohibition of illegitimate discrimination against the PWD within the workplace, and ensure additional facilities, special benefits, reasonable accommodations. Reasonable accommodations were very well explained by Mr. Ashok during his presentation. so I'm not going to talk about it. And conform to the accessibility norms pertaining to the infrastructure and communication technologies, and maintain records of the PWD employees. The social perspective also has been highlighted in the earlier presentation. This act provides firms with an additional avenue of fulfilling their corporate social responsibility, and such hiring practices not only fulfill ethical compliances, but also make sense from a business perspective. So very quickly running through the slide, we've all learned in the previous presentation also that what are the benefits of hiring a person with disability, because they come with high potential and diverse range of skills. And this is a larger talent pool of skilled manpower, which can be used optimally and to contribute to the growing economy of the nation. And they're quite dependable in terms of quality, commitment as task consistency. The attrition rate is also reduced, and attract new skills and bring new and valuable perspective to the organization, and increase talent in the organization, as well as the loyal and committed employees. So we can go on to the next slide. Okay, so what is the general perspective? I mean, before we are all talking about employing and hiring person with disability, but what's the general notion? I may not say that all of you sitting here today have the same notion, but yes, as a general perspective, we always have some concerns like, will he or she be able to work effectively and efficiently in the team? What are my legal obligations when I employ a person with disability or a person with intellectual disability? Persons with ID are childlike. I mean, when we talk about neurodevelopmental delays and persons with cognitive impairment, then this is a notion which most of the employers have, that they're childlike, aggressive, throws tantrum, and forget sequence of work, etc. So will they be persons with disability be able to work and adapt themselves in the new setups? So now we can go on to the next slide. So, I mean, through the secondary research, we've just quoted few examples here where the employee's view can be seen. So they feel that employee's personality, many employees explain that the employee's personality contributed to their success in the workplace, in that they have appreciative attitude and are eager to do a good job and please their supervisors and co-workers in terms of their dedication to work and their job ownership. Another feature which was highlighted is the team building. Many employees discussed how their staff is willing to work together and help each other. Perspective shift is another very good example of having a person with disability in the organization, and which says that it encourages employers to realize the importance of a more positive and work environment. Additional shifts in perspective included seeing the benefits to job customization, employment that involves carving out, tailoring a position, flexi working hours and all that, and the importance of flexibility. And this not only benefited the persons with disability, but this was also very beneficial. I mean, when we say that there was a perspective shift, this was also beneficial for the people who were not well, the ladies who were expecting. I mean, a lot of such reasonable accommodations fitted very well when it came to a perspective shift. Filled roles, I mean, they were able to complete the tasks which somebody always find boring or repetitive. So some of the persons, especially for the persons with cognitive and developmental disability, persons with intellectual disability, they work very well on stocking the shelves, folding something and keeping it, stacking it, etc. And employee work ethics. So employers spoke about their employees with disability in terms of their dedication to work and their job ownership. And that is the business sense which we saw, that the attrition rate is very less. And therefore the sourcing cost come down hugely on the employer's part. We can go on to the next slide. Okay, so what can be your role as an employer? We may just need a commitment, because it is a huge task to have an inclusive workforce, and it is a dream for all of us, whether that is DRF, SCP, WDA, many who are working in the disability space, that we should have mainstreaming of persons with disability, and let's make an inclusive society. So your commitment, first and foremost, to creating an inclusive work culture is required. All of you may go back and identify opportunities which will be best suited for persons with disability in your own organization around you. Promoting sensitization programs, not only outside the teams, but within the team. You can organize for team sensitization programs so that all of you, not all of you are able to attend programs which are organized by DRF or any other organization or SCPWD. So maybe such workshops can be brought to your organization to sensitize and equip the people on management of persons with disability. Creating and enabling an environment with workplace adjustments. Ashok has very well explained about it in his slide. Encouraging inclusion in the workforce within the organization. That is, having the website accessible, the whole, recruitment, onboarding of the candidate with disability, placement, progression, everything has to be encouraging inclusion and very, very not encouraging discrimination at workplace. Sharing your own experience and best practices. So we should not work in isolation. This is a cause which all of us are driving, and therefore share your stories. All of us have small or big stories, but it is worth sharing with others, because there are a lot of employers, a lot of industry, and a lot of people who want to come forward to hiring of PWD. So be the torch bearers in that for the cause. And please promote OJT, the internship programs, the apprenticeship programs, if some training organization approaches you for the same. So that will be your significant role as an employer. We are also showcasing some of the job roles which SCPWD has adopted. It will be difficult to run through all the job roles, but you can see the sectors. Majorly, we have touched upon more than 23 sectors as of now. So we are in agriculture, apparel, made-ups, home furnishings, automotive. We can go on to the next slide. Beauty and wellness, construction, domestic, electronics, food processing. We can go on to the next slide. Gems and jewelry, green jobs, handicraft and carpet, healthcare, ITES. Next slide, please. Leather. Next slide. Management and entrepreneurship and professional development, media and entertainment. Next slide, please. Under PWD also, we have developed two very specific courses. One is the trainer, persons with disability, which is relevant for all the trainers in the domain space to undergo the training and the sensitization for the orientation towards the PWD. So this is an NSQF level 5 program, which is updated on the National Qualification Register, and you can view it on the NCVT's portal, NQR portal. There is another job role, that is PWD Assistive Aid Repair Technician, which has been created specially for the persons with disability. Apart from this, we are also in retail sector, telecom, textile, tourism, and hospitality. Some of the job roles we have recently started identifying for the persons with intellectual disability. These are some of the job roles. We work very closely with the Department of Empowerment for Persons with Disability in this, and work with the various national institutes in order to identify and take these training forward. We can go on to the next slide. These are again some of the job roles. For more details, you may visit to our website, www.scpwd.in. We can go on to the next slide, please. These are some of the job roles which are under progress, under process. And apart from those sectors which I have mentioned earlier, there is BFSI also in this. We can go on to the next slide. Any other sector is logistics, which is also there, which we see that it is quite in demand during the pandemic time. We can go on to the next slide, please. All these I have already covered in my last sectors. Okay, so for the benefits, for the tangible benefits, you may refer to the website of disabilityaffairs.gov.in. And so only capturing some of the key incentives or what will I say, the guidelines which have been mentioned there. According to RPD Act, the reservation in government jobs have been increased for the persons with intellectual disability by 1%. So earlier when the benefits were in the earlier incentive scheme, the reservation was only for 3%, but 1% has been increased for persons with intellectual disability. It has been proposed that 5% reservation should be mandatory for the private sector also. Out of this, but this is just a proposal, and out of this 1% is also reserved for persons with intellectual disability. However, we have stories, the success stories from the employers, that they have gone past the 5% reservation, and they are taking more than what has been recommended by the government, based on the business perspective of hiring the persons with disability in their organization. So to encourage private sector and to employ PWD, a scheme of incentives was also launched in the financial year of 2007 and 2008, and which has been recently revised in the private sector also. And according to that, the administrative charges which were applicable on EAPF and ESI contribution earlier will now be borne by the DPWD. Earlier, the administrative cost was borne by the employer. And in case of private employer engages a PWD as an apprentice, Ashish has also talked about this, in a particular trade, and employ them on completion of the apprenticeship period. The stipend during the apprenticeship period is payable to PWD. Payable to PWD is also borne by the Department of Empowerment for Persons with Disability. And there are many other benefits also, which may be visited on the website of www.disabilityaffairs.gov.in. So with this, I come to an end of my presentation. Ashish has also already thanked, and the thank you was especially in sign language. So promote signing, and thank you so much, and thank you for bearing with us. Any questions, we'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Dr. Niharika. It was a very detailed and informative presentation. So now we have the real performers, as you can imagine. So just telling or preaching is something, but doing is something else. Is actually the real sense. So we have a couple of very vibrant and dynamic employers with us today. I would like to call them now one by one to share their experience briefly, how they started, what was their journey, and what is that made them possible to hire and be successful today. So first, may I call upon Ms. Sona Gulati, representing Vishal Mega Mart, to share her experience.
Hi, Ashok. Good evening, everyone. So, okay, so I'm a very, a small part of the organization, I would say. I hope everybody is able to hear me.
Yes. Go on, Sona.
Yeah, so, okay, so we have a family of 1,000 plus employees, PWD employees with us right now. We earlier had 1,200, but now it has decreased to 1,000 because of the attrition and the COVID thing, and people, people are resistant. Like it's a general attrition percentage, which we have for any other employee as well. So it has nothing to do with the PWD thing. So yes, we have 1,000 plus number right now, and we have reached it like within past 2 years. It was very less previously. So yeah, we have grown like very fast, and we just want to grow only. We want to sustain the number, and at the same time, we want to increase the number. So a lot of NGOs are connected with us in this, and I think this is a very good initiative which has been taken by our CEO. So he participates in all these activities very rigorously. So yeah, we have been able to do that. And getting on to the points that we are discussing today. So the pandemic impact on the PWDs have been like, see, like we are retail, so Vishal Mega Mart, as you all know. So work from home is actually not possible in our organization. Like it is just not feasible for us. So yeah, but currently we are hiring PWDs for our new stores. We have not stopped the hiring for our new stores. So we are doing that. And side by side, we may, if there is a lockdown situation in future, we may, introduce some of the work from home things that, PWD employees can do, like calling the customers and all of that from home. We can propose that. It's not happening right now. And because we are into essential services, we have FMCG and all, so complete lockdown, doesn't happen for us. We are never shut. So that is one good thing that we have. And yes, and about talking about the stakeholders and all of that. So I'm connected to a lot of NGOs and DRF. Actually, I'm very much connected to DRF. If I talk about my UP region and all of that, so I get a lot of support from DRF, and Nishi is connecting with me. So I think they give a lot of support to their candidates, which they give us. So they provide the accommodation support and the fooding and all of that. So I think that helps them to get out for at least a time, and then see that what they can do actually in their life. So at least they give them a push to do things on their own. So I think in that way, I get a lot of support from my stakeholders, and they are very supportive in everything. So yeah, we are, currently only focusing on our new stores. And I think, yeah, just a minute. So basically, it's a 10,000 square feet store size.
Miss Sona, any issues?
Hello.
Yeah, go on. We lost you.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. I just got a call from the floor. So, okay. So, right. So, yeah, I was on to that point that yes, these are the initiatives that we are taking right now, and we'll keep on taking. We need to take this number to 2,500, which is the target. But yes, every time we think about it, pandemic strikes us like anything. It's been like third time now. So yeah, but we'll surely, look for more and more things that we can do for increasing this number instead of the pandemic. And because we also need this, right? It's not just, PWD people and the NGOs like you who are doing all these things. Like I think it should be a mind thing, like it should be a thing to think for every organization to give back to the society. So yeah, I'll on the behalf of the organization, I'd like to say that we'll keep on doing this and we'll keep on increasing this. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sona, for that. Like you said, it is 1,200. So that's not a small number. That's a good number, very good number to have. Very, very big compliment to you. And the way you have brought about things, one of the biggest plus point I see in Vishal is the number of stores they have and the number of places they have. which has helped us to place people with disability in nearer to
Right.
their locations. So which is
Right.
one of the great things that to happen in a
Yeah,
pandemic
it's a positive thing,
situations.
right,
Yes.
right.
So that is
Yeah.
one of the best things. So thanks
Yeah,
for
I
all
think
your
for
support.
PWDs, it's a very good thing to be near to their homes because, staying alone at a place which they are not aware of is not easy. It is not easy for a normal people, like for a normal human being as well. So, however we treat us, they're equal, but they have a lot of challenges, and we cannot deny that. So, yeah, I think, our accessibility of tolls help them to be near to their homes.
Yeah, thanks for that. So next we move on to another very renowned organization. This is present both at national and international level, the FedEx Korea. So today we are represented by one of the topmost grasp in hiring space in the organization. Ms. Tusharika is representing the organization. So she will be sharing her experience. Over to Mrs. Tusharika from FedEx.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you. And it's an honor to be here talking about building diverse and inclusive organizations. So I've had the privilege of being instrumental in making a change in the workforce demographics. So FedEx is not yet there as Vishal Megamart has clocked the numbers of 1,000 people, including PWD in their workforce. We've just become conscious and started the initiative. So I would say, when I say conscious, yes, it's an organization-wide initiative that we are focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion. But in terms of being there, we're not yet there. So I'm being honest in acknowledging this. But yes, efforts on all quarters are being made to the fullest. So I will share my experience of what we did as a first baby step that we took in this direction. So it's about 2 years back, just before the pandemic had struck in. We had gone ahead and partnered with a lot of NGOs working in this space and looked at possibilities of including people with disability in our workforce. So we all know FedEx is in the space of logistics and transportation, and the kind of roles that we have today require people to be on the road, moving heavy packages and interacting with customers. So first and foremost, what we did is in parallel to tying up with organizations to understand the strengths of people that we have today as skilled workforce, we also did an internal study wherein we went about looking at different functions and the roles that can be made available to people with disability. That's the most important step that we did. Second thing was that having a buy-in from our stakeholders, our internal stakeholders, because there are apprehensions about productivity being lost or impacted with not having people with the right abilities and skills. So that mindset shift had to be done, looking at the positives, narrating to them the positives of the entire inclusive effort that we bring about in our workforce was very important. Fortunately, I would say our organization and my stakeholders have been very kind and have understood the importance of building a diverse and inclusive workforce and more than willing to take this forward. So that helped in our favor. So not that we started at a large scale, we started with baby steps, wherein we started with including about as a pilot project that we did of including speech and hearing impaired people in our workforce, in our on our shop floor. Roles identified for them were very simple jobs because of the fact that we are a very process-oriented organization. And so as to not let the person be a failure and let him succeed in his role, we thought we will give roles which are simple. Could be like monitoring shipments, which are getting downloaded or unloaded from a truck full, in terms of shipments which are in proper conditions, taking a note of those shipments and scanning those shipments. We have equipments which scan the shipment, which kind of makes a tick that the shipment has arrived at a particular location. So these were small activities that we looked at and which could be given. Thereafter, what we did is when we identified and partnered with NGOs, we actually went about talking to individuals at length before actually getting them on shop floor. We went an extra mile and also spoke to the families of the people with disability, thereby building that trust and relationship with not only the individual, but also the family. That's a step ahead that we went, because we wanted to understand as to what backgrounds that they come from, what is the kind of support that they get from the family, and how supported would their family be once they are outboarded into the organization. Thereafter, we had made a induction program, a very detailed induction program for these employees. We had walked them. So what we did is, because there was a limitation, we did not have the skills to understand them. We did a small training session for our employees, along with sensitizing them about inclusion of people with disability in our workforce, sensitizing them about the way that they need to conduct themselves when they're around, sensitizing them about being inclusive, making an effort to embrace these people as like any other employee would be welcomed. So we had an interpreter onboarded into our system, a contractual interpreter, to help us understand sign language basics. Okay, and then we identified people who could be taken onto the role of a buddy to these people. So we inducted 5 interns, and these 5 interns had one buddy from our system who would coach and guide and handhold the individual to understand the process responsible for and deliver on it effectively. So this was a 1-month-long program that was there. And the interpreter also helped us translate the entire process to the individual. So initially we had faced challenges wherein our employees used to communicate with paper and pen. They used to write down things that they wanted the person to respond to. But later, when we analyzed about a month down the line, they had built such a strong bond with these people that no longer that they required a paper and pen. And with the sign language and lip reading techniques, they were able to communicate what was required. So I have to tell you that our experience so far has been phenomenal, right from the time that we inducted these people and how our internal workforce embraced these people, not taking them to be unique or different from others and taking them as one amongst ourselves. And overall, the business feedback was on the productivity of these employees, as rightly mentioned by Mrs. Niharika Nigam, in terms of their loyalty, their dedication. This came out in true sense is what we observed. I have to tell you and share with you an example that we have had failures in terms of SIP scans when a shipment is offloaded from a truck. Once we onboarded a person with disability to this and assigned him this task, we had seen no failures. There were no repeat tasks assigned, repeat task as in if there's a task given, first time delivery would be 100% accurate. So these were some of the achievements that we saw in terms of the dedication, the diligence that these people showed, and the loyalty. Punctuality, all these things came in as positive. And the bond that they had built internally was very strong. So this kind of influenced us to move ahead and then look at roles which are beyond and take this to the next level. Thereafter, we moved on with our next step, and we kind of expanded this horizon, expanded our horizon to other offices. FedEx has got, again, a hub and spoke model, like Vishal Mega Mart is present in every city, multiple stores. We're not as spread, but yes, every city would have one station, one operating office. And we were looking at how best can we expand our footprint in this direction. And we've succeeded to quite an extent, starting with focusing on metro cities. So we looked at other roles like customer service backend roles, wherein there is only data entry that needs to be done. How is the skill of a person with disability being utilized in that data entry roles? And again, to our surprise, we were quite happy with the performance of these individuals. We've been looking forward to take this to the next step. So I've shared my experience in terms of, we did face difficulties of onboarding people, but once we had them on board and we saw their performance, we realized as an organization that there's no limitation and there's no limiting factor that can stop us from not having them being a part of our workforce. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tusharika. It was such a wonderful sharing. So, you know, if we say it is just, you know, talking from our behalf, but then you are the real implementer. So when it comes from your experience, it speaks a lot. The employers would have benefited a lot with this. The processes that you explained was very, very clear. And in both the sharings, the decision making is very important. And if that has come from the top level, it helps. So that has happened in both the organizations, and every journey is is tough. So going through this journey is not easy. And I'm very glad that you both have traveled this journey along and understood what is the need and sustain this initiative. That's very important. And I'm sure the employers will do the same in the days to come, and you will be a good role models for them to go forward. So we are now concluding the workshop with a big thanks first to Mr. Ravindra Singh for his keynote address. He has been always supporting our initiatives wholeheartedly, and today he was there with us. Thanks, Mr. Singh, for your presence and valuable words. Dr. Niharika Nigam for her presentation, very insightful presentation, and also Mr. Ashish for his briefing on the apprenticeship skill scheme, which will be useful for a few employers here. So please do get in touch and get benefited. And we also, we were on behalf of our team, we would also thank all employers for taking your time. It was a very good number to see everyone turning up today, for your valuable time, participation, and also please feel free to get back to us for any support relating to hiring. We will be there for you to support. And last but not the least, thanks to the DRF team, starting with the leader of the pack, our Associate Director, Mr. Lakshmi, for the explaining about DRF and also our initiatives, and the entire DRF team working hard to bring all the employers together. That was a very yeoman effort, a great work by the team, which made this possible. Thanks to the team, and thanks to one and all. Let's have a very safe, healthy, and happy New Year. Thanks everyone. Good day.